Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday the 20th, and we are about to get stuck into our webinar, which is all about the value of a connected CRM for manufacturers. Just going to kind of hang on just for a few minutes just to allow people to join. I know it's been a very popular webinar for us, this one. Lots of great sign-ups. Thank you very much for giving up your time. So yeah, we'll hang on for next 2 to 3 minutes just to allow people to filter into the live room, and then we'll get straight into the webinar. For those of you that are here, just want to check you can hear, see, it's all technically we're all going along. If anything, just pop that in the chat. That would be very much appreciated. Silence, always the...
Oh, we got a thumbs up.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Great. Hi, Dawn. So yeah, like I said, for those of you that are just joining, we're just going to give it another minute or two, just to allow other people to jump in, and then we'll dive into the webinar. Should be a really interesting chat, and hopefully add some value. The question was, Elizabeth, could you hear us? Yeah, Amy, I think other people can hear us, so possibly your end. Just a bit of housekeeping. Obviously, we're going to try and save Q&A to the end of the webinar, and try and allow some time. And if you do have any questions throughout, you can pop them in the chat. If we don't have time to get to them all for you today live, what we'll do is we'll take those away, we will answer them, and we will definitely come back to you with those answers. This is going to be recorded, so if you do, for whatever reason, have to go and grab your lunch or drop out, please don't worry. You will get sent the recording at the end of the day, and you can listen back to anything you missed, including that Q&A section. So yeah, if you've got anything, then fire it into the chat. Unfortunately, Delpierre, none of us are French speakers, I'm afraid, and we are not going to be able to deliver it in French for you. You may well be able to get it transcribed post-webinar on Google Translate or something. Cool. So, yeah, I think we will make a little start now, as it is, 3-4 minutes in. So hopefully most people have joined. Hi, Rochelle. Thanks for joining all the way from Singapore. Very nice. So, yeah, well, welcome along. My name is Rob Dando. I am the Managing Director of Finally Agency. We are delighted to be HubSpot Platinum Partners. And today I am joined by Connor, who works at HubSpot. And I'm also really excited to be joined by one of our clients and also a HubSpot client, Simon and Richard, who come from Kingsbury. And I will introduce you to all of those further down the line. But yeah, it's going to be hopefully a really interesting chat. Kingsbury have been working with us and HubSpot for the past 5 years to go on a journey, bringing in HubSpot into the business, and obviously we're going to try and show you the pros and some of the cons, and what to look out for in terms of making that transition and the value that has brought to their business, but also in terms of the value that adds from a marketing and sales perspective, for an agency like us that work with them to understand and have that connected element of software. So we work with engineering and manufacturing companies day to day. That's what we do. We specialize in that sector. And, you know, the first thing I'm going to ask you to think about is, do any of these sound like you? You know, do you have no idea who is visiting your website today, in terms of actually knowing the people, not just a number, not just a cookie, but physically saying, I know that this person, this prospect is actually visiting my website. commonly, we'll walk into clients and they're still using Excels to track their leads. So they might get an inquiry form, they might get a telephone call come into the office, and they'll like add that to an Excel spreadsheet. That might be getting passed around the office through sales reps. Maybe they're sharing that form. Sometimes they're duplicating that form, and it becomes chaos. Are you actually, if I were to ask you hand on heart now to tell me, can you clearly attribute a return on investment to your marketing channels? Can you just give me that number right away, from a report? Or is that something that you're going to have to work hard to produce, cross-referencing your Excels, looking in your Google AdWords, running over to your Facebook account? And do all of your inquiries go to one single person? Which is a massive common problem that we find with clients, that it's going to a particular person's inbox. That inbox isn't shared. If that person's ill or on holiday, inquiries are missed, or they get busy and that inquiry isn't forwarded on or goes to their spam folder. It's a very dangerous situation to be in, particularly if you're trying to run and grow a very busy manufacturing and engineering business. We all know day to day there's pitfalls with machines and everything going on, and sometimes sales isn't top of the agenda for absolutely everybody. If you're lucky enough to have a sales team, hopefully it is top of their agendas. But if you're running a smaller setup, it might just be one of your jobs. So if any of those questions sound like you can answer yes to them, hopefully this is going to be the webinar for you. We're going to talk to you about how HubSpot solves for this and allows you to get on with running your business and grow it by using and working with prospects and contacts that you're now aware of. So manufacturers, engineering companies, as I said, we're working with them day to day, and a very typical pattern that we see is either they're using, very much legacy CRMs, things from maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Sometimes those are CRMs that live on servers, that have to be managed internally or by an external IT team. They're not they're not cloud-based systems that can be accessed remotely or from phones or tablets or whatever the case may be. We find very, very common is a cobbled together bunch of software trying to do multiple jobs. So you might have a CRM in one form or another. You might have some kind of lead nurturing system. You might well have Excel sheets running some other parts. You might have a calling system. Kind of bringing together multiple systems and trying to make them work. Maybe they're not fully connected. Maybe they're not fully integrated. And you've got kind of data siloed in different locations that it's very hard to join up and report on. Or more worryingly than anything, no CRM. I have still seen people with post-it notes, filofaxes. Whilst I appreciate they do a job, they've done a very good job. I think in today's world, CRM is a massively important part of any business, but particularly ones that are looking to grow their businesses now. It's something that we really, really push when we talk to clients and prospects, is understanding that. And obviously HubSpot is a platform that can solve for all of this. Hopefully we're going to try and show you some of those benefits here today. Okay, so I think there's a little poll that's just gone up there actually, which is quite interesting from those early results. You can see no CRM, 20%, cobbled together 20%. So quite an even split actually, which doesn't surprise me. So very good. So I think now, before we go on and hear from Kingsbury themselves, I'm going to introduce you to Connor Higgins. Connor is going to talk to you about some further insight into kind of how HubSpot can solve some of these problems. Connor is one of the top sales guys at HubSpot, works with people like yourselves, engineers and manufacturing, day in, day out, many other businesses too. So kind of got some really great insight as to how bringing and connecting a CRM can truly add value to your business. So, Connor, I'd love to introduce you now and let you talk about that.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob, for having me. So just can't see the slide there, Millie. Okay, perfect. So yeah, as Rob mentioned, guys, we speak to a lot of customers here at HubSpot, potential customers, and what we're seeing a lot is, as Rob mentioned, prospects coming to us with one of those 3 use cases that we just talked about. So legacy CRMs, cobbled together point solutions, or in some cases, believe it or not, Excel sheets and black books. So some interesting stats here which we can talk about, but while point solutions, we're going to talk about point solutions first. So point solutions being an example might be MailChimp for email marketing. It might be that you're using Zoho CRM or Pipedrive, and then maybe something like Zendesk for customer service. So these point solutions sometimes, they can be okay for single departments or maybe for a specific channel. But really, it's important to think about technology a little bit more holistically, if you like. If you don't, your business may experience what we call unhidden expected costs. So, disparate data, lower adoption. And we've surveyed at HubSpot, 1,700 survey buyers recently, and it was found that the more point solutions you have lead to a higher cost of ownership. And this is primarily due to increase in things like personnel costs associated with using these multiple tools. And we found that switching gears and logging into disparate tools can take up to as much as 40% of an employee's productivity time, with an average marketer as well using an average of 10 tools. So this can add up quite quickly. So we can see here some interesting stats. 86% of sales reps get confused about which tool to use for which task, leading to missed quotas. 80% of sales reps wasting time keeping track of different login credentials for different tools. And as I mentioned, switching gears and logging into disparate tools can take up as much as 40% of an employee's productivity time, which is a huge amount of time. And really what you want your salespeople doing is actually focus on selling. So we're missing out on a huge amount of that productivity here with these disconnected point solutions. So the other use case that Rob mentioned then is these legacy systems. The other common approach to front office software is legacy platforms that were built through acquisition of point solutions. So there's a lot of vendors out in the market that what they've done is they've gone out and acquired different point solutions and they've slapped their label on them, if you like. But while this approach can seem like a better investment sometimes, it turns out that that's not the case. So each of these different kind of apps, if you like, that have been acquired and built together, they're working on what we call disparate code bases. So it makes it a lot more complex, time-consuming, and very costly to implement. So disparate UIs lead to lower adoption, and we're seeing this an awful lot with people we speak to, particularly in manufacturing, where they've got legacy CRMs that salespeople aren't even using it. A lot of context switching, disconnected data, and all of these have like costly development requirements as well. So again, the surveys we have, it's found that when your CRM tools are all in one place, that essentially you're going to have stronger connections among your data, your systems. You're going to see greater ROI as well on your tech investments. So 25% of reps have said that updating Salesforce or other CRMs frequently takes time away from selling. 46% of marketers take more time preparing and segmenting data than any other tasks. And 43% cite a lack of shared data on prospects as the number one challenge to aligning sales and marketing. Okay, so they're the 2 use cases we talked about, legacy CRMs and point solutions and the complexities and problems that they cause. But what's happened in the industry is that the customer journey has become very complex. So it's definitely not linear. And what we're seeing here is that it's more of a winding road. So creating a really good customer experience across your marketing and sales and service is very difficult, especially when you're using disparate tools. And we see that bottlenecks are caused as a result of this. And it creates a lot of friction between teams And it makes it harder for teams to align, but it also really makes it harder for your sales and marketing team to adopt to these tools as well. And having these inflexible tech stacks makes it harder to adapt. So what we've seen happen in the industry is that as the customer journey has grown and has become more complex, so has tech stacks. So as I mentioned, a lot of competitors out there, what they've done is they've stitched a bunch of point solutions together. And while that will get the job done, you'll really not be able to unlock the full potential of the business. And this is because data is fragmented, integrations are a nightmare, and the UX is all over the place. And we refer to this as a cobble tax, because it's cobble and it's a cobble tax. It costs your business a lot of money. And it really costs you a lot in the long run. So CRM is no longer just a sales tool. It should really be at the heart of your business. And what we found with our customers is that when CRM is at the heart of the business, we're seeing, a lot more growth, higher customer satisfaction, and a big amount of them say as well, when we look at our customers that are using a CRM at the heart of their business, that their company is actually growing and scaling. So when you have something like HubSpot at the center of your business, the result from what we've seen is that things like employee adoption is much stronger. Cross-functional connections across your marketing, your sales, your operations teams are a lot stronger also. And that's when the magic happens internally. The result is essentially that you unlock the superpower that enables you really to deliver a really remarkable customer experience. And that ultimately is going to fuel your business growth. So I suppose that's where HubSpot comes in. And, we talk about HubSpot being crafted, not cobbled. So what I mean by that is HubSpot's crafted from one native code base. So we talked about legacy platforms cobbled together through acquisition with different code bases. We wrote every line of code. So our platform that's been carefully crafted, but it's also, customizable to meet your needs, and it's deeply connected, extending beyond sales to bring best-in-class tools for your marketing, your sales, your customer service, and even your operations and content management team as well. So with HubSpot, each product is very powerful on its own. But, as I said, the real magic happens is when you use them together. So we have an inbound methodology at HubSpot. And using that inbound methodology, companies can attract, engage, delight their audiences, and they can establish a community of promoters who will fuel the flywheel and ultimately business growth as a result. So with Marketing Hub, you can save your team headaches and costs of using up to 10 disconnected point solutions and build better engagements. A CRM-powered marketing platform that has everything you need to get found, engage new people, and nurture them into leads for the sales team. With Sales Hub, you can boost your adoption, enable them to focus on the right activities like actually selling, and drive more revenue by reducing context switching between disconnected tools. So time-saving tools will give you deeper insight into your prospects, automate a lot of your busy work, and help you close more deals faster. So today, customers expect resolutions in minutes and personalized 24/7 support through flexible channels. But most customer service reps are overwhelmed trying to meet these growing demands because their tools and data are scattered across multiple disconnected sources. HubSpot will give you customer service software that gives you all of the tools you need to provide world-class service efficiently, enriching customer relationships and delighting customers as you scale, turning them into advocates and promoters of your business. And then we've got CMS Hub. So grow your business by incorporating your website into your growth machine. Don't have your website just as an online brochure. Operations Hub. Connect and clean your customer data. Automate your business processes. and even curate data sets for reporting to create friction-free business experience. And when you have marketing, sales, service, and operation teams working on a connected platform, you gain not only efficiency, but also competitive advantage in how you engage your customers. Okay, and finally, the apps marketplace and the data sync product available through Operations Hub. So, we all have these tools, particularly in manufacturing, where you've got your ERP or you've got your back-end finance tool. And, while HubSpot can't do everything, we will connect seamlessly with a lot of these tools that are available through data sync or the apps marketplace. HubSpot's over 708 integrations in the marketplace. So some of the logos I have here, you'll be quite familiar with, I'm sure, being manufacturers.
Perfect. Thanks, Connor. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's quite a lot of information to take in. And for those of you that, are maybe hearing about HubSpot for the first time or kind of early in that journey, I think the best thing to do following this and obviously the chat we're about to have with the guys at Kingsbury is kind of get in touch with a rep or contact us here at Finally, and we'll take you on that journey. So, yeah, I'm really, really pleased to be able to introduce you to Simon Dutton and Richard Hughes, who, as I say, one of our long-standing clients, also been with HubSpot for 5 years and kind of have been on that journey, and hopefully are going to be able to share some insight for you as to how that worked and really hearing it from the horse's mouth. Really is, obviously Connor and I are going to talk about the great benefits of HubSpot till the cows come home, but I think actually hearing from real clients about how it's gone for them, how it's added value, etc., will be really interesting. So Simon is the strategic development manager at Kingsbury, I hope, and Richard, I believe, sales director. So kind of looking at it from two angles, really. But firstly, Simon, Richard, thanks so much for joining us. I hope you're both doing very well today.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. Carry on. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think, at this stage, just want to have an open conversation, really, and just sort of maybe just like think back to when this journey began. Particularly Richard, I know that you guys were using a legacy CRM, as we discussed, very common in the industry. It was Act from memory. I guess, when we were first talking about switching systems and looking at something like HubSpot, just to share your kind of early thoughts, what was the apprehension at that point? Were you excited, or what was that sort of thought process?
Well, our initial thoughts were we knew that Act was out of date. We hadn't been updating it. I don't think they updated it. And it was, the archetypal legacy system that people had been using it. New people come into the business, myself included, and no one really knew how to use it. We had someone who administrated it, but that was just on an ad hoc basis. So you had really a couple of area sales managers who used it and were confident in using it, but everyone else really didn't know what to do with it and didn't use it. And so therefore you ended up into that situation where some people were using the CRM, some people were using their own Excel sheets. Data, myself, was keeping track of projects and deals and forecasting off an Excel sheet. And so nothing was linked together. We had no record of what anyone was doing or how you could interrogate anything to see what was happening with the system. And so, when we spoke with you, Rob, we knew we wanted a CRM, something updated that everyone could use. And to be perfectly honest about it, you were very open and fair and just said, this is what can help you, but there are other systems on the market. We looked around a little bit, and some of the feedback we had from other systems was that really once you are tied into it, you're stuck and you can't get out of it. And I suppose with our naivety on CRM systems, we wanted something that, if it didn't work for us, we'd have an option out. But obviously we didn't need that as it progressed.
Yeah. No, it's great, and I think that it was a big decision in the end when we made that decision, because it was migration process that we had to go through, bringing all that legacy data in. But in terms of like your job role, if you can maybe just give a little bit of background for those listening as to kind of the structure perhaps of Kingsbury sales division, if you like, how was it running, and what information is it that you were potentially lacking when you said you weren't getting that data because it was joined up, different reps were doing their own thing, like in your position, what's kind of key to allow you to do your job well?
Yeah, well, I mean, really, we've grown a lot over the last 5-6 years anyway, and maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, before I was here, it was easier to keep control of customers because there weren't so many. But as we've grown, it became apparent that we really need to make sure that we're keeping control of all of our deals, as I said earlier, and have a better view on our forecasting, seeing what deals are going through. So anyone at any stage, from the managing director to myself to the ASMs to the technical team as well, can look at a deal on the system and see where we are with it, from what the ASM is keeping updated on there. So what we didn't have in the previous system was really any visibility of anything, to be honest. You could look in there, but everything was like, I don't know, probably Windows 3.1, drop down, Windows, no drop down menus, and probably that was too advanced for that. And you could never find anything in there. Everything was deep down in the system. Unless you really knew how to use it, you couldn't find anything. And what we really liked about HubSpot was everything was very transparent, so that customers, all the customers are linked together in a very clear way. You can also see which customers are, maybe I'm stepping a bit further forward here, but what customers are interacting with, what marketing is going out there, who are not interacting with it, who should we focus on? If someone's not interacting, then are they someone that's maybe worth speaking to at the moment, or do we have to try a bit harder to get them to interact with the marketing that we're putting out there? And I think Simon will probably come on to this, just keeping track of when you're communicating with a customer, because a lot of the time it can be remotely, is being able to see whether they're, looking at what you're sending them, without just this send an email out to a customer and just hope that they've read it.
Yeah. So yeah, if we bring you in at this point, Simon, thanks for patiently waiting in the background, but I mean, you joined the business after we'd initially brought HubSpot in as a tool, so kind of came in and I guess it was a tool you had to learn. I mean, how did you find that to start with? Was it pretty intuitive?
So I started Kingsbury 4.5 years ago. So at the time, Act was still there, and I started using it a bit, but obviously, as Richard said, it was quite challenging. You had to download it onto your computer and you had to refresh it, and that process took ages. So nothing was linked together and it was hard to navigate. Obviously, when I first saw HubSpot and how it worked, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Everyone's got a unique record, all based on the email. Everyone's linked to a company. You've got the website on there. You link the website. It automatically links LinkedIn pages, so you can go onto the LinkedIn page and see who's at the company. So you can very quickly research companies just from HubSpot. I say as my role. So as I started as an strategic development, but obviously COVID came along, and I've now got 2 roles. So I'm an area guy as well. So I cover the area where I live. So HubSpot to me it's up all the time. I've got the add-in on my Explorer in the top window. So as I'm sending emails to people, I can see when they're opening them, which is quite a cool thing. So you can actually time your phone call maybe just after they've opened it, or slightly afterwards, and they're like, oh, just looking at your information, and you get that feedback. Some people obviously don't open the email, and then you look at trying a different way. So yeah, I mean, as a tool, it really helps. Sort of, we can put tasks in there so you can remind yourself to ring someone up every few months if you're just catching up with people, just to see if there's anything happening. But obviously, when you go and visit someone, we create reports, all that's stored in the system. You can tag in people, so it automatically emails the likes of Richard and the technical team. So everyone's communicated, everything's stored in one place. So, it just makes my life very easy. You can record text messages now, WhatsApp, LinkedIn messages, everything can be recorded on there and obviously looked at any point. So it's
Yeah. And I guess, like every business is different. Even the clients that we work with, some are true full service manufacturers, with ERP systems and finance systems. I guess from yours, you're very much more consultative sale and, bringing in, obviously the great machines that you guys then deliver into customers. But, obviously I know that your sales journey are reasonably long. And so I guess my question is that, does HubSpot has that helped improve your sales processes, Richard? Like having that information there, as you say, Simon, everybody being able to get involved. So, technical guys can dip in and answer questions. And I guess it allows you to collaborate in one single point. And by having that accessible to everyone from everywhere, has that made life much easier?
Yeah, definitely. From the sales tab on there, we keep a record of all our deals, and just as you said, most of our sales cycles, 3 months would be probably a short sales cycles. You get the odd one that comes in very quickly, but most of the time 3 months we would class as very quick. Some of them can be 1 year, 2 years, and longer than that. So within our deals matrix on HubSpot, we sort of have we've customized our own process through there. So we, from a potential new business all the way through to whether we've won the order, lost the order, or it's inactive, because we have quite a few deals that, start moving up the system and then they go inactive, and they can sit inactive for 6 months, 8 months, and then come back on again through various reasons. And again, that's where HubSpot's very good, because we record everything. You can then look back on what was done previously, and anyone can look back on that. So if I'm dealing with a customer, Simon can look at what I've been talking to them about without necessarily having to call me, say I'm away or busy with something else. And I can do the same with Simon. I can look back at previous sales reports. As Simon said, whenever we visit a customer, we'll create a sales report or a visit report, which will give all the details, and especially like the first contact with a customer. That's very important, because that's where you probably gain most of your information or initial information. And that's very good to be able to look back on that and see where we were at that time ago. And as Simon said, copying everyone in, all the sort of stakeholders of the process is really good. And I think that goes back to one of the questions we had prior to the start of the webinar, which was, how does it integrate, how does it help everyone involved in the process? So when a visit report is done or a sales report is done, as Simon said earlier, you tag in the technical team. It can be the administration team to keep a record of it. But the key is there that everyone has their task is listed on there, and then they're tagged in. So that everyone has got that report. You don't have to check up on people. They've seen it. They've got what their actions are to do. And then when they complete their actions again, of course, that goes through HubSpot again, so everyone can see what everyone is doing and keeping on top of it.
Quick question for me, if that's okay, Richard or Simon. I'm not sure who the best one would be. Just in terms of, it's great to hear, really refreshing. So what we're kind of hearing is that everything is the one place. It's that 360-degree view from everything you can see about a contact is in that place. You can find it. In terms of that kind of sales and marketing handoff and alignment, if you like, and I know finally you're working with you from the marketing perspective and doing a lot of the work within Marketing Hub. How have your salespeople found using HubSpot and the leads that have been passed from marketing? And I suppose also the context and the quality of those leads as well when they get them.
Do you want to answer that, Simon?
Yeah, so I mean, again, when anything comes through from the marketing, I'll get a notification come up and get an email with, a customer in your area. So So that'll come through directly to me with any details that they've put on the website, phone numbers, emails, and then I can see what information's already been sent to them, what they've downloaded maybe, so I can then look at, take the right time to think, do I then follow that up with a phone call? Quite often you think, well, just, they're obviously got the information that, it's working out that when's the best time to perhaps approach that person. Obviously, you can also see if you've been talking to someone, you'll see that then they're on the website downloading the brochures, and I'll get a notification. You go, well, great, because I was talking to him yesterday, and he's just downloaded the brochure, and it's captured all that information. So, from that point of view, it works very well. And again, I've got the app on my phone. It's everywhere. So, and it's all recorded. So it's from that point of view, and again, on everyone's record, you've got mobile numbers, you've got office numbers, multiple emails if you want that. So and you can add notes and tasks. So it's pretty slick. So
you're able to see that the journey that contact has taken, really, from that very first interaction on your website all the way through, from kind of marketing and then sales and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I've had one today that an inquiry's come in from a customer, and I've approached them. I've looked back in the history, and I can see that we had a visit back in 2018 before we had HubSpot, but obviously that data came across from that. I can see the information in there that they'd looked at the machine back in 2018, but they weren't ready at the time. So, right. And it's got all the people there. So you've got names of people who've looked and been contacted in the past. So I'm very informed now to talk to that person, and I've emailed him. He's come back, and he's just down the road. So I'm going to perhaps pop and see him this afternoon. So, And
I suppose then it would probably ensure nothing slips through the cracks, because if people are downloading brochures on your website, or putting their details into various different calculators, these type of features that you have on your website, which again, you're using HubSpot through our marketing tool. But, previously, were those type of things were they slipping through the cracks? Were they not being followed up on? And is it a case now where they are being followed up on?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it happened before I started, but I know at the moment, how it is at the moment. It's obviously, it's always there. I'm assuming in the past, if someone would email and only that person would know then, and if no one reads the email or comes back, you're not going to see anything, are you? I mean, it is literally crossing your fingers and sending that email. Whereas now, at least, you can look as if that email's not been touched. You've got to try a different way, and that's when you go to, perhaps I'll do a LinkedIn message. If I've got the mobile number, I'll give them a call. Try a different route. So.
I mean, that was exactly the case. Previously, if someone downloaded a brochure from the website or interacted with the website, we wouldn't know. We would have no idea whatsoever. And so that's made a big difference. That is just to be able, and as Simon said, the journey, as he said there, 2018 was probably that first contact with that customer. We're 5 years on now, and normally, that information would have disappeared maybe with the previous ASM, if there was a previous rep or whatever in that area, or it might have come through someone else in the business. We have inquiries through the technical team as well. And so they can start talking, and as long as they're logging their emails, which they do majority of the time, again, you can look back on, because you don't necessarily need everyone copied in on every single email you do. Otherwise, your inbox just, it's
logging it automatically on the records anyway.
That's right. So it's great to be able to look back and see the whole history of the sales process, what was talked about, what was, why they've gone off, why they've come back on again. It does make a big difference. And
from a customer experience side, not having to ask the same questions to potential customers again is huge.
Yeah. Well, also that, I think, being one step ahead as well, knowing, especially if you've taken over a customer for whatever reason, is to go back in there, and you can start talking from a point of understanding a bit their issues. So like Simon said, and I'm sure he will go and talk to them and know where they were before. So you can come from that point rather than saying, right, tell me your story. You can populate some of that story before you start, can't you?
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Obviously, from a the topic or title is around the connected CRM, and I think that this topic of conversation is exactly that. That as sales reps, You want the maximum amount of information you can have to give your customer the best experience. And that would be, from knowing that you've been somewhere before. That's through login stuff, from obviously logging different emails, which HubSpot can do, automatically, but also from that marketing perspective, which is obviously where we have the pleasure to work with you guys month to month doing that. But for some other businesses that are listening, it's marketing and sales. It's, the topic of long-standing topic, how are they friends, enemies, partners? We obviously believe that sales and marketing should be fully integrated, more so than ever, in this world that we live in now. The digital side of it, marketing's really key. And I think that where we're producing content, we're producing webinars and things much like we're on here now today. Great thing about HubSpot is all that information is going to be sucked in. And the next time you're having those conversations, as you said, Tom, you can go to someone's contact record, you kind of look at that history, go, oh, they attended the webinar. They did then go and watch that video. Oh, and they've downloaded the product brochure of this particular machine. And so when you kind of have all that information pieced with any previous quotes, perhaps, or, because all of those deals, even if they don't go all the way to one, you've got a history of what was spoken about before. Why didn't that deal close? And, you as a salesperson can take all that information and just have better conversations, which must surely make your life much easier, I would imagine.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And Rob, just a quick one on the marketing side. So I know you've got a lot of, conversion points on the Kingsbury website, calculators, downloadable guides, those types of things. But I suppose not everyone who maybe, downloads a guide is going to be wanting to have a sales conversation straight away. But just wondering how you might utilize HubSpot maybe for nurturing and scoring them, and then maybe pushing them over to kind of sales when they're ready.
Yeah, sure. So exactly that. We're doing marketing day to day. That's through social media, through campaigns, through downloadable content, for all those touch points and landing pages that we create on machines, on service offerings. And the idea behind it is that we're going to try and educate Kingsbury's customers to the point that they are ready to have that sales conversation, that they're sort of a warm lead, maybe a 7 out of 10. And we do that by allowing them to go on that journey. As a business, Kingsbury are very, very transparent. They've embraced, that kind of forward-thinking attitude within the business. They've embraced marketing wholeheartedly. They understand that the investment in marketing is not necessarily instant. They've been doing this now for 4 years, and the benefits are clearly now obvious. We've been using HubSpot. We've been using marketing to its best abilities, and we use lead scoring. So within HubSpot, within a contact record, each contact can be effectively scored from 0 to 100. And every action that they take, we can modify that with a positive or a negative. So it might be that we say, hey, this person's visited a pricing page, give them a +10. They've watched the video on this particular index machine, +20. They downloaded the brochure, plus another 10. So we're getting all these signals and intent signals. And then, as Simon said, when we reach an agreed threshold that we collectively have worked on to improve and refine, we say, Simon, hey, Mr. Customer X is been on the website, they've done this, they've done that. I think they're really maybe the kind of person you should be talking to. And we can notify Simon through an email. I can WhatsApp him, I could text him, effectively make sure that he has the information linked to the contact record to say, Simon, I think this guy, or we believe as a marketing team, this particular prospect is good fit and maybe ready for a sales conversation. And then that's obviously then goes to Simon to work his magic. And he might look at the record and disagree, and that's fine. And we try and get feedback. But, fundamentally what we're trying to do with marketing is keep customers engaged, the brand of Kingsbury, keep them informed about, different machines, different industry trends. We do a quarterly newsletter now that kind of talks about many things. And it's just about, as we said, Richard mentioned that some of the sales cycles can be 2 years old. What we're looking for is that during that 2 years, we're still engaging with them. We're still letting them know that, hey, Kingsbury is still here. These machines are still great. We can still help solve your problem. And also in the 2 years that conversation been happening, we've learned this, and we can further help your problem because of this. And so, it's just about building rapport with customers, and hopefully those sort of sales conversations are far easier at the end. These are not completely cold conversations. These are conversations with people that Kingsbury have an awareness of, and certainly have an awareness of what they've been showing an interest in. It might well be that you end up selling them a different machine, but I think the intent is that they are kind of self-qualifying themselves through marketing.
Perfect.
Cool. So yeah, I think, just to wrap up before we maybe start to take some questions from the audience, I think just on the journey, I know, as I said, it's been 4 years, and I think just to give context on that, we started life by bringing in HubSpot as a CRM. We did that migration piece from Act. We then introduced the Marketing Hub, and we did that for 12 months. And it was 12 months after that, we brought the full Sales Hub into the business. And I think, just on that, Rich and Simon, do you think that kind of worked well? Because I guess we don't want to bombard you as people with all this new tech and then all these new processes. I think going on that sort of staggered journey allows you to get to know the system, get to understand data that we're gathering. And then when we brought in those extra sales tools, you're already kind of fully adept and ready to go.
Definitely. And as I said before about, we had 2 guys at the time who were, full Act black belts, and HubSpot was, don't cross my path with that. But to be honest, after a period of time using it, they realised that actually they can do a lot more with it, than they thought they could. And so, yeah, it's always difficult to bring change in, isn't it? It's never easy. But once people see the benefits of it, because anyone in whatever job you're doing, you want your life to be a bit easier.
Yeah, especially with salespeople, I think, Richard, they're reluctant to change, but when they realize they can sell more with what you have, then they're 100% on board.
They want more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, in terms of that, going back to the title, would you say that, you can see value in having HubSpot and the tools, certainly in your business in Kingsbury? Is the investment worth it? If I said, actually, tomorrow I'm turning it off and you're going back to Excel, would you be happy with that?
No, it'd be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, look,
I can't see how we would do what we do now without it. I really can't.
No, it just wouldn't work.
No.
It'd be an absolute nightmare. And I'm in a sales role now, but I came from a manufacturing background. All this was very new, but it's a system that's very straightforward to use, and I'm just looking forward to the next step where we get more involvement from the bigger Kingsbury team, because obviously from a sales point of view, I want to know when anyone's talking to my customers, and I want to know when if there's a problem on a machine, I want to know of that. So I either make sure I go and see them when there's a problem, or avoid them, whichever path you want to take. But the more information as a sales guy, the more the better it is. You just want to know everything about, the whole process. And, and if the machines had problems, you perhaps want to arrange to go and see the guys, to follow that up and make sure that everything's good, Yeah,
no, perfect. Well, thanks very much. So appreciate the open and honest answers to that. I think, it's been a great journey, and it'd be interesting to see, polls of people at Zoho, no Salesforce people on, which is interesting. So we've got some questions.
So you're selling to the converted already by the looks of it?
Yeah, it looks like that. But
we have a lot of HubSpot customers on today, I think, as well.
Yeah, perfect. So we've got some questions that have come in. So I'll kind of try and take these from the bottom and see how we get on. So the first question came in from Adam, and I think we've kind of partly answered this, but how has having a CRM enabled you to divide responsibility of tasks in the sales process, and has that been in line with utilising a sales framework? So probably maybe one for you, Richard.
Yeah, as I think where I was trying to refer to that when I was talking earlier, As Simon had mentioned, that when we start a project, or when there's work to be done from visiting a customer, we have our own, I think it's from a snippet we call it, don't we? Create a visit report or a sales report, and then everyone is tagged in with that, with the actions that are required. So that effectively divides the responsibility up, and everyone knows that when they get their HubSpot report, they can read the report, understand what's the salesman has spoken to the customer about, and then what the customer is requiring, whether it be a quotation, whether it be some engineering work or whatever else, or even a service call or something like that. So yeah, it fully integrates to everything we do, really.
Yeah, so yeah, we do utilize the snippet features for you there, and they're great because it's repeatable content, time saving. From your perspective, you can just load the templates and frameworks that you want to run, and everybody knows how to use them and get on with it. So yeah, great. So next question, is it been recorded? It is, so look forward to watching it back before. There's
a question from Fran. They're interested in this question for Kingsbury. Have you connected your HubSpot CRM to an ERP system? How is this working for you? I don't believe Kingsbury have connected to any ERP. No. But Fran, we've got a lot of native connections with various ERPs. We'd also have friendly APIs that we can connect with as well. So, depending on what ERP system you're using, there shouldn't be any issue with connecting that up.
Yeah, from our side, we have other customers that are connected into Microsoft Dynamics as an ERP, and a couple of others. So certainly, if you want to take that question offline, be very happy to talk to you about that. So moving along to Nicola's question, ERP again here. So yeah, NetSuite, actually, we have other customers that have used NetSuite. So, I think the difference in HubSpot as a CRM, if I'm totally honest, I think it's easier to use. It's very intuitive and kind of being constantly updated with new features. But for me, it's that visibility on some of the kind of web tracking side that most other CRMs do not have. And that is the massive, massive benefit. As Simon mentioned, being able to understand when somebody has been on your website, is on your website, has done certain things, that is a really powerful tool.
Yeah.
That is often not the case with stuff like NetSuite.
I think on top of that, just to add to that, I mean, NetSuite is, as you said, it has a CRM element. It's not a CRM, it's an ERP. And I think HubSpot is best in class CRM. I think that's probably the difference. It's got everything from, as I just touched on earlier, marketing, sales, operations, Service Hub, but best in class CRM tools as opposed to NetSuite. And we have lots and lots of customers that are using HubSpot CRM and NetSuite ERP. So if you're really looking for that best in class CRM, NetSuite wouldn't really be the way to go there.
No, definitely not. So Jimmy asks, how can working as an online sales rep, how can we drive customers or prospects to purchase online rather than visiting them? I guess the answer to that, Jimmy, is around content. So, as I was saying before, by producing good content, by tracking that, so using HubSpot to track every element of what's going on with your customers, you can build out customer journeys. Make sure that you're sending the right emails, that your customers are segmented, that you've got the right content offer for them, leading them to, take that action, which, in your case, you're trying to take action as into purchasing online. Still think you've got to take them on the right journey and sales process. So use personalized video, use product downloads, you've got to take them on that journey still. And by using a tool such as HubSpot, what you're going to give yourself is the ability to track every interaction they've had, understand what's working, what's not working, A/B test, call to action, A/B test, landing pages, and ultimately, you'll drive a higher conversion rate. And it's a massively great tool for that. Questions coming from Dawn, one of our lovely customers as well. And she asks, is there any intention of introducing a price threshold for smaller companies? At the moment, it costs the same amount as for a large company.
I can take that one. I mean, we've got different tiers on our products. So we've got the free CRM, which is obviously for very small. It's a free tool. You can house all your data in there. And then each of the hubs that sit on top of the CRM that I touched on, marketing, sales hub, service hub, operations hub, and CMS hub, each of those products then would have 3 different tiers of pricing. So we have our starter, our professional, enterprise. But it's really, I suppose, around what features you need and what tier you would require on each of those hubs. But we do have pricing for smaller companies in terms of the starter products and things like that. But yeah,
I think it's tricky, isn't it? Always pricing's always a tricky conversation, but it's about, how much value can you gain out of it, and luckily, obviously, we've got Simon and Richard here that can attest to the fact that, yes, it is a relatively large investment. We're talking tens of thousands of pounds as to hundreds, but the reality is that probably the time saving for those people involved, for the automation and stuff that can be added to it. I believe that kind of cost does truly pay for itself. I think, once you make that investment, you're never going to look back. I mean, I remember actually even for ourselves, the first time we introduced HubSpot to our business, and I was looking at that quarterly bill thinking, blimey, but now I don't think anything of it, because the value that it brings to, I mean, like Simon Richard said, somebody tried to tell me now they're going to turn HubSpot off or take it away from me, I'd be fighting them to their death.
Yeah, it's all down to the return on investment, really. How much are you putting into, how much you get more out? But ultimately, you should be attracting more visitors, engaging more visitors, and ultimately nurturing and closing more deals and selling more stuff. So it should really pay for itself.
Yeah, and I think the more that you use, as we said, the more that you connecting not only to obviously HubSpot's suite of tools, which are amazing, and as Simon touched on, perhaps stuff like Service Hub is a logical next step for the business at Kingsbury anyway. But it's about the more you understand about your customers from all angles, the better. HubSpot truly, as a CRM, is the center point of that, and even beyond, you can connect HubSpot, as you said, to 700 native apps growing every day. There are people working on this, but we work with other customers to do some custom integrations, some API calls and API works to really kind of drive home value to their particular situation, their particular manufacturing process, where they need to know information further down the line, at machine point. And we can provide that from HubSpot, again, having that single source of truth, which you can't beat, right? A single source of truth is what everybody needs, because exactly as Simon says, you don't want a salesperson to be like getting all excited about ringing someone up to talk to them and then not knowing that they're actually having a very angry conversation with somebody at the time because their machine's been offline for 10 days, So I think most of the questions we've answered. Obviously, we're coming up to the end of the hour. And I don't want to take up anyone else's valuable time. Really, really appreciate for those of you did make it. For anyone watching this back on record, thank you for taking the time to listen to what we had to say. Hope you found that really valuable. We particularly love HubSpot. There's no secret. We've been finally working with HubSpot here in Kingsbury to talk to you about value of a connected CRM. And if you want to talk about any tailored onboarding plans or talk about how we can support you as a platinum partner, we specialize in engineering and manufacturing, and we'd love to have conversations to bring this in and really improve your lives and make your businesses grow. So any questions, either contact our sales here at Finally or reach out to your HubSpot rep. And we very much look forward to hearing from you. And once again, Simon, Richard, Connor, thanks ever so much for giving up your valuable time today. And thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.